I was on a date with a girl, and some Chinese guy called her up, offered her $70,000 to marry him, and it was like that kind of stuff happens all the time in China.
It's us. Let's get to the dating in China. So how's dating in China, and how does it differentiate from here in America?
Yeah. So like we talked about earlier, people have more traditional roles here. So I feel like in America, a lot of American men are confused about American women because American women seem pretty complicated compared to women in other countries. So it's like when a man approaches a woman in America, he doesn't know, like, should I be a thug? Should I be like some kind of cool guy? Should I be intelligent? You really don't know. But in a lot of these other countries, a lot of women, they typically like the same kind of guy. That they want a guy who's stable, a guy who can provide, a guy who they can introduce their parents to. That's the kind of guy they usually like. They want to have that guy. So it's a lot more simple and straightforward. It's like if you like a girl, you kind of just gotta, pursue her and chase her and just try to make things happen that way. It's not really any like waiting for the woman to make the first move or anything. It's like you're the man, you make the first move.
And in terms of the Chinese women, because I know there's a stereotype out there when it comes to Asian women where they have a preference, like they prefer white men over any other type of man. So for any brothers right now, like myself, like other brothers, like would you recommend China for them? Like, can a Spanish man, an Indian man, an African American have any success in China?
Yeah, definitely. So the thing about preferring white men, that's mainly a preference for like kind of European features. So it's kind of like height, right? Like generally, the taller you are, the better. If you have height, if you have muscles, if you're like handsome, these things play in your favor. But you don't necessarily need that. It kind of is like a mix of things, right? So it's like a guy might not be white. A guy might be. There are a lot of Arabic guys over here, right? So like an Arabic looking guy who's like super tall, he'll be fine. It's like, it all depends on what you have physically. But yeah, if you're talking about like there's like a preference for white European features, yeah, but it's kind of like, okay, girls have a preference for height too. Girls have a preference for money, but they'll still, hook up with guys who are like average height and not millionaires. So it's like, just because you're not a woman's preference doesn't, or not a woman's ultimate preference. But I think it's difficult for most guys to be a woman's ultimate preference. Like there's probably not many 6'5" supermodel billionaires out here walking around. So, but somehow I'm sure you can still get a date even if you're not like a 6'5" billionaire.
And another thing about China that I'm curious about, man, because the thing is, I feel like China gets slept on when it comes to the women. Because I feel like when it comes to women, everyone always talk about the Philippines, and I know already know your opinion on the Philippines. You want to refresh people's thing about that, man? I remember you were talking about how the Philippines is overrated.
Definitely, Philippines is definitely overrated. I think it's kind of older men who are looking for marriage who boost up the Philippines. So it's like older American men who are like ready for marriage and who are maybe don't aren't looking for like young hot women. Those guys love the Philippines. But basically, yeah, for me, I really like Chinese women, man. I'm really attracted to them. You know, I think they're like Korean women. Here's the thing: like South Korean women are, in terms of like thick Asian women, South Korean women are kind of top notch. It's like hard to compete with South Korea, but South Korea is just like kind of not as fun a place to live
Yeah.
compared to China. So, even though South Korean women are very beautiful, it's like I kind of prefer Chinese women. There's just something about Chinese women. Even when I was in Thailand, man, I met the girls in Thailand who are like mixed with Chinese. Those women, pretty much most people agree, like that the Thai girls who are mixed with Chinese are usually the most beautiful. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's just something about Chinese women. But yeah, I think Chinese people have a reputation for being racist. People think their government is bad. So there's just a lot of reasons that people try to talk like, oh, like, don't go to China. Chinese women aren't good. Da da da. But really, I think a lot of guys would like the women over here.
So would you say that your dating life has massively improved since being in China?
Definitely, definitely. Just the number of options I have. I live right here in the city center, so if I just go down on the street on any normal like afternoon, evening time, I'm gonna see a lot of beautiful women walking around. Women who I would be happy like to maybe date or have as my girlfriend. And that wasn't the case in America. Like I could go a long time without seeing a woman who I wanted as my girlfriend. So yeah, man, it's pretty good over here. I'm not saying it's easy, but I don't think it's really easy for anybody. Like I have friends, like we talked about white guys, right? Like I have a German friend. He's considered to be pretty handsome, and even for him, like he had to put in some good amount of work to get chicks. It's not just like you show up and like sometimes you show up and the women are over you. Like sometimes you might get lucky, but usually it might take a little bit. You gotta take women out on dates or something, and yeah. But I think overall, China's the kind of country where if you're willing to invest in the country to the medium to long term, you can get a lot of benefit out of it.
So what does a man have to do in order to get great results in China? Because when I think about China, and I could be wrong, I don't think about it as a easy marketplace, like similar to, no offense, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, like a Colombia, for example, where you walk out there, you say, hey, mamacita, sol gringo, dollar, passport, and that's it. You know what I mean? I don't really view China that way. I think you have to put in more work in China, especially with the language barrier and everything. So what does a man have to do in order to get results out in China?
Yeah, so the thing is that in China, so here's the problem. A lot of like guys, like I'm part of the Passport Bros community. Like, I'm actually wearing like a Passport Bros
Oh,
shirt right now, and like basically a lot of guys they go to these countries where prostitution is very common. So it's like Colombia, Brazil, the Philippines, Thailand, Dominican Republic. They go to these countries where basically women are kind of poor and women are willing to do stuff for money. Like a lot of women are willing to just sell themselves. And I think it gives them like a slanted perception of women. They think that all foreign women are just easy, like, just have a passport and American dollar and you can get a chick, a girlfriend. And it's not really like that in developed countries where women can work a good job and like don't need a man. They can like survive on their own. So it's definitely not like that in China where women aren't going to be impressed by your by your American dollar really, because in China there are a lot of rich guys. There are a lot of rich guys throwing money around. So basically, if a woman is like decently attractive in China, she probably has you know access to rich guys. Like there's beautiful women basically having unlimited access to money, especially over here in China. I was on a date with a girl, and some Chinese guy called her up, offered her $70,000 to marry him, and it was like that kind of stuff happens all the time in China, where it's just like yeah, like I don't think women here are impressed by money like that, man. So yeah, I think you kind of need to have your game tight. I talk about game a lot because I think a lot of guys they kind of lost and they forgot how important it is to be able to talk to women and be able to run game. They forgot the importance of that, the mouthpiece, and yeah, it's just it's an important thing to have. Like what reason? What does a woman gain by being with you? Like what does she how will her life improve? What kind of lifestyle do you have? Is your lifestyle interesting? Is your lifestyle attractive? These kind of things, it's important to be able to communicate with that. But if you're like a super good looking guy, like if you're like really, really tall and handsome, yeah, you can get by without having much game. You can just kind of go to the club and get lucky. There'll be women who approach you and make it easy for you if you're like a super, super good looking guy. But in my experience, you kind of have to put in effort for the higher quality women because they're not going to make it easy for you usually.
The next station is Shibuya. Look at me, where she gonna be? Call